Nadler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wood, supporters of large media mergers often promise innovation, better services, and more content. Looking back, did those mergers deliver for the public?
In a word, no, I don't think they did, Mr. Nadler. I mean, you've listed the litany of deals that involve this company itself. Warner Brothers now currently up for sale again. I would say with respect to streaming, for example, that yes, there has been innovation. Consumers have benefited from some of these technological changes, but it's not because of the mergers. So the merger promises that are made are often paper thin, very hard to enforce if they're even real in the first place, and companies routinely break those promises because there's very little antitrust enforcers can do after the fact to unwind a deal. That's a pretty extraordinary remedy. So if they promise not to fire people or promise not to raise prices, and they do, there's not much people can do besides wag a finger at them.
Hollywood unions such as the Writers Guild are opposing acquisition by either Netflix or Paramount because of concerns that consolidation will reduce employment, compensation, and creative opportunities. What happens to independent producers and creators when the number of potential buyers for their work shrinks?
Yes, well, thank you. I mean, we've spoken to some of those writers, we've spoken to some of those independent producers. They're very concerned, and rightly so. When the number of buyers for their work shrinks, it's not just that there are fewer open doors, there are fewer doors at all. So they have fewer places they can take their content. They also have the loss of competition and diversification in the market, fewer smaller independent producers or fewer scrappy competitors who are willing to take a chance on something different. So I think it tends to homogenize content and by design reduce the number of outlets and number of choices they have.
And what would be the effects of these consolidations be on the diversity of content that we see today?
Well, thank you. I mean, as I was saying, I think it would be less diversity. I don't know that there's a metric we can apply to that, but we do see companies in the broadcast space, in the streaming space, in the studio space, homogenizing their content, making things more so-called mainstream, taking fewer risks, needing more money to come back in through the door in order to justify the huge budgets for the few features they put out. So it tends to reduce choice and increase prices, and just to, as you said, reduce diversity and the differentiation between the products these companies have to put out to compete and survive.
And reduce the amount of conflicting information and opinions given to the public?
Yeah, I mean, that's something our organization has worked on for years when it comes to the news and competition there. The FCC's tests for that are different from antitrust, but related in many ways. They look for more competition, more diversity, and localism. And we're often told that, well, the only way we can have more competition in local news is to have fewer competitors. The only way to have more diversity is fewer voices. And the only way to have local content is to nationalize everything. And we frankly don't believe those claims, and we've seen them harm communities time and again.
Everything you just said seemed very concerning. The way to have diversity is to have fewer voices.
Yeah, I mean, it's as my colleagues on the panel have said, I mean, sometimes you're going to have a situation where if a firm is failing or can't compete, then a merger might save them and preserve that voice. We just are very skeptical of those claims because in Warner Brothers' case, for example, I think by last year's metrics, they were the second most successful studio. They're the third largest streamer in the country. So the notion that a company simply has to be sold or else the shareholders won't make any money, to us is very questionable. I know that the streamers in general have not made as much money as they like, and some have lost money. So there are legitimate questions there about the profitability of streaming. But as a going concern in an overall business, we just simply are very skeptical of claims that these companies need these mergers to survive or thrive.
Thank you. I understand that Netflix has made promises that would mitigate possible competition concerns. In particular, it says that it would continue to sell shows to rival streamers. How should these promises be considered in the analysis of potential anti-competitive or public policy harms?
If you're asking me again, I mean, yes, as I said a moment ago, I think that these promises are very hard to enforce. So I could imagine a condition in a merger approval if it went through. It's just that whatever these companies agree to, it's sometimes easy for them to lawyer their way out of and not even technically break the promise. And then once that promise is broken, as I said, there's very little that enforcers can do to unscramble the egg and put things back together and make companies whole who aren't getting the benefits of these promises that were made.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have a number of unanimous consent requests for the record from a series of labor groups coming out against or raising serious concerns with the Netflix-Warner Brothers merger.
Very good. Go ahead. Consent.
First is the IDA statement opposing a merger involving Warner Brothers Discovery.
Without objection.
The DGA statement on Warner Brothers Discovery Netflix.
Without objection.
the SAG-AFTRA statement regarding proposed Netflix-Warner Brothers transaction,
Without objection.
prepared statement for the record of the Writers Guild of America West and the Writers Guild of America East,
Without objection.
the Hollywood Teamsters, Warner Netflix deals, and other call for alarm for entertainment workers,
Without objection.
and finally, the Producers Guild of America.
Without objection. Gentleman's time is expired.